our top story of the day. As you can see over here, there is much controversy over the appointment of Victoria Gowri as a Madras High Court judge. We'll be bringing you more details as to why the appointment of Gowri has caused so much controversy. There are two reasons in particular. She's going to be taking oath as a High Court judge today, which is why we are focusing on it. Now, for more context over here, the decision, the recommendation by the Supreme Court Collegium for her appointment led to protests by sections of lawyers in Tamil Nadu who pointed out to her previous association with the BJP and what they've said are instances of hate speech. Again, I'd like to say that it is alleged by them. The Apex Court will hear a plea against her elevation, which accused Gowri of exhibiting strong prejudice against citizens on the grounds of their religious affiliation. Now, the Supreme Court will be hearing the plea very shortly. It is also questioning her political affinity. They have said that because she was the National General Secretary of the Bharatiya Mahila Morcha, which remembers the women's wing of the BJP, her political associations are questioned. Now, she is currently an Assistant Solicitor General based in Madurai. Let's go very quickly over to my colleague Ananya for more context. Ananya, over to you.
Well, as per the breaking developments that have just taken place, a Supreme Court bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, Mr. Dhananjay Yashwant Chandrachud, would be actually hearing this petition. Earlier, the matter was listed before a bench headed by Justice Sanjeev Khanna and Justice M.M. Sundaresh. But since Justice Sundaresh was one of the consulting members, he is now not on the bench, and the hearing, instead of, in fact, later than 10:30, the hearing would now take place at 9 a.m. In a few minutes from now, the hearing would begin in this particular matter. You know, there is a lot of furor that had happened over, in fact, the appointment of Ms. Gowri as a judge of the Madras High Court. And what we've been seeing since for past few days is that representation was also written to the Chief Justice of India, in fact, the Supreme Court Collegium, and also the President of India, Ms. Draupadi Murmu, to actually cancel out this particular appointment that has happened. However, we saw that yesterday night that there was a notification that came in with regards to the swearing in of all of these judges, because remember, whenever the President actually issues warrants for appointment, that has to take the swearing in has to take place in a span of over 12 hours unless it's a holiday or a general holiday next day. So definitely this swearing in will take place at 10:30 a.m. However, at this point of time, you know, we have to see as to what happens in the hearing that happens at 9 a.m. in the morning, and whether or not the appointment of Ms. Gowri is actually quashed, or the same continues and she swears in as a judge at 10:30 a.m. All of this is a matter of time. We'll get to know when the hearing actually begins and the arguments are put forth and the judgment actually comes into this particular case. Toya.
From you, Ananya, where you have lawyers alleging that her political work experience in the past should keep her from holding this post. In particular, she's obviously come out and said that she quit all political posts 3 months before she took over the current post she's in September 2020. I just want to understand, what kind of precedence do we have to this? Other lawyers, other judges across circuits in our country holding political offices, what kind of precedence do we have, and how do lawyers in Tamil Nadu say that this is different?
Well, the lawyers say that she had affiliations with the Bharatiya Janata Party's Mahila Morcha. She is the General Secretary there. And in fact, you know, what is also very, very crucial to note that it is only one precedent in the Indian judicial history in 1992 when such an appointment was struck down due to various reasons. So we might see that something could take place here. However, since the President's warrants are already signed and the swearing in is scheduled at 10:30, it would be a lot of fireworks when the hearing actually begins in this particular case, and we'll get to know as to what actually is in fact the outcome of that particular hearing. But at the same point of time, we will also be seeing a lot of arguments that are addressed from the other side that such a precedent cannot go against the judges, and judges in fact can have political affiliations. And if you remember, in a recent collegium recommendation, when the Supreme Court Collegium had actually recommended one of the names and the same was retaliated by the government, the Collegium resent the name saying, remember that the issue was that the judge had posted certain kind of tweets. In fact, had retweeted a tweet with regards to the CA protests that were going on in 2019 and 2020, and that became the reason for the central government actually refusing to this name and retaliating it back to the Supreme Court Collegium. However, the Supreme Court, in fact, it had in its Collegium recommendation and once again said that dissent doesn't mean that a person is a threat to the country, and in fact that does not hamper the integrity of a person. So how things pan out in this particular case, how things go on in this case, we'll get to see when the matter is actually taken up by the bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, Dr. Dhananjay Yashwant Chandrachud. And what would be the outcome of this particular case is something that would be very, very interesting to see.
Okay.
Toya.
Ananya, I want a little bit more context from you here. We know that the SCI Collegium headed by the Chief Justice of India had on Jan 17th proposed Gauri's name. Now, I just want to read out something for you and then I'm going to come back to you to ask you for context. Comments that the CGI made to the senior advocate Raju Ramachandra, who had mentioned this plea. In that, the CGI had said that the Collegium has taken cognizance of what was drawn to our attention or came to our notice after we formulated our recommendations on the recommendation of the Collegium of the Madras High Court. Does that imply that perhaps the CGI and other judges were not fully aware? What do you take away from that comment, Ananya?
Well, do you know, the collegium meetings are actually something that are pretty secretive, and there are the information with regards to this only comes through a collegium recommendation. However, as the Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, yesterday pointed it out when the matter was actually mentioned before him by senior advocate Raju Ramachandran, it was very, very clearly said by the Chief Justice of India that the collegium was not with the benefit of all of these documents or all of this information when that recommendation had taken place, and the cognizance on that particular development has taken place, and the collegium has taken note of all of those developments and that particular information that is there. So, the collegium might not be with the particular data at that point of time, but now since it has it, we'll have to see as to how things pan out and whether or not this appointment continues or the swearing in would be disrupted and Ms. Gauri would not be allowed to swear in. All of these are questions that would be answered only after the Supreme Court hearing actually takes place.
Ananya, thank you for those details.